وكلا نقص عليك من أنباء الرسل ما نثبت به فؤادك وجاءك في هذه الحق وموعظة وذكرى للمؤمنين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. The second part of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And Allah Azza wa Jal has praised many prophets in the Qur'an. Of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gains a lot of praise from Allah. But the praise that we find Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam gets is something which is quite unique. Because what Allah Azza wa Jal says about him is, إن إبراهيم كان أمة قانتا لله حنيفا. That Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was a nation, an entire nation on its own. Qanitan, so ummatan means nation, and some have given a different tafsir of ummatan of this, and this is found in the 14th juz, right towards the end, at the end of Surah Al-Nahl. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He says that ummatan qanitan lillahi hanifa. He was very forbearant and towards Allah Azza wa Jal, having his full attention towards Allah, very forbearant in the service of Allah, and hanifa, completely turned towards Him. Now, this word ummah, why did Allah Azza wa Jal mention that He is almost like an ummah or a nation and so on? What we learn from this is that Allah Azza wa Jal has made certain people themselves just alone, they will have an effect of an entire crowd. And then there are some people who just themselves, they will have the effect of even a larger crowd. And if you look at Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, his determination was such that the determination of an entire ummah was alone the determination of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, ourselves again, what we need to do is we need to measure how strong and how willing we are to get what we want to get. Because Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam wasn't leaving anything, any excuse behind whatsoever. So here we are, last week we said that they threw him into the fire and Allah Azza wa Jal put him to this test. And one of the unique things is that the fire is coming towards him, and as I said to you last week, he's having his attention towards Allah Azza wa Jal. And Sahih Bukhari, there's a hadith that says Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, one of the first things he said as a dua to Allah was, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Can everyone say that? Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Say again. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Now, Hasbunallah means that Allah suffices us. Wa ni'mal wakeel means the best of those whom we can depend, upon whom we can depend. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us in a hadith of Bukhari that these were the first words that Ibrahim alayhi salatu said when they threw him to the fire. And these were also the first words which the Muslims said after the Battle of Uhud, when they had a great defeat, and thereafter they turned their attention towards Allah Azza wa Jal. These are the first words they used. In both instances, Allah Azza wa Jal gave them a great victory. And the one that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, they said, is found in Surah Al-Imran, Surah number 3, ayah number 173. Now, what's unique about this dua is that you as a Muslim, me as a Muslim, we can use this dua any time there is any difficulty, any stress. But it's not just using the dua, it's the inside. Like I said to you, the willingness of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was very strong. He believed 100% that Allah is going to come to his rescue. When the fire was burning, you have a separate hadith in Bukhari that every single creature tried to put out the fire, or tried not to allow the fire to continue, except one creature, which was a gecko or a type of lizard called a gecko. That lizard blew into the fire so that it could make the fire more fierce. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then, he said to us that, this type of lizard, he said, kill that type of lizard. Because there are certain animals that will be, even in the midst of harm, certain animals might continue to cause you harm, even though you haven't done anything wrong. But there are many, many animals that may come to your rescue. And that has been proven in the history of Islam, that if you are a person of the faith within the faith of Islam, and you're doing the right thing, then there are animals even which Allah Azza wa Jalla will use for a rescue. And we've got a famous one where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was inside the cave and he's traveling towards, going towards the Hijrah, and a spider spins the web, and you've got that hadith. But there are many other instances where animals have come to the rescue. Now Ibrahim alayhi salam is in the fire, and the fire burns around him, and some of them, they say that it burns for up to about 40 days. Some say less than that. But anyway, the most unique thing is that Ibrahim alayhi salam, after the fire has burnt out, they're expecting, there's going to be not even any bones left to find of this individual. And they're surprised to see that after the fire has burned out, there's this young man who is coming all the way out of the whole of the rubble, the ashes, whatever you want to call, all of whatever is burnt out. He's coming completely safe. Now he's got no burn marks, he's not even blacked out, he's not even looking like he's suffocated inside there. He just come out. Now this is serious. Because first, this young man, he breaks their idols, and their rage was such that they wanted to create the biggest fire in history and burn a man. And second, forget doing that, this individual comes out like that. It's like this is not like a human being. So anyway, Ibrahim alayhi salam, obviously he comes home, and his father, whether this happened at this time or whether it happened later on, or it happened earlier, Allahu Alam, but there's a clash with his father. And this clash, ultimately, it leads him to leave the land. So what he's done in his life is, what he did in his life is that he challenged his whole nation and his people. B, he challenged his father. C, he challenged and he left his entire homeland. He didn't have any affiliation to his homeland. So now this is real da'wah. When a person can get to the level, and it's very, very difficult, my brothers and my sisters, we can say it easily, it's very difficult. There are certain people, certain things would not allow them to carry on their da'wah. Right? So you see them all around. There are certain people in the world that they will give you, mashallah, the imam is so good, or the shaykh is so good, or the person who's giving da'wah is so good. But then you have the government, or you have policies or whatever that, feed towards that shaykh or that imam or whatever. And because of that, they'll never speak against the government. They'll never say anything about those certain people. You see that. You see certain people, because they don't want to leave their country, they will go to a certain extent, but not further, because they can't lose their country. They can't lose their homeland and the citizenship of where they're living. And of course, we all are humans and we have these things. But Ibrahim alayhi salam, he did not care where this would lead to, as long as he had Allah Azza wa Jalla with him. So what he does is that there's a beautiful speech, and the speech between him and his father is recorded in the Qur'an, and there are many things to learn from this. This is in Surah Maryam, and Surah Maryam, ayah number 41 to 49. Surah Maryam is Surah number 19. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, he says to us, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. And remember in the book, remember Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Now why did Allah say وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ? Allah Azza wa Jalla wants us to go over this story again and again, because there's so many reflections that we can have in many parts of our lives. Now brothers and sisters who are listening, when you go through the Anbiya's life, you always find things that relate to you, always. So here there's a clash of a son and a father. Imagine there's so many sons out there who become practicing, and whose fathers are not on the deen, or whose fathers are on the deen but they're not practicing fathers. Or it could be a clash with a mother and a daughter. Now I've seen this time and again, like you have these youth inside the masjid, they come from through ISOC, or through a way of learning, about Islam, maybe a halaqa or a circle inside the masjid, or maybe they came across a friend, maybe they went on a journey. Whatever it was, it changed their life. So now that it changed their life, they come back home and they tell their mother and father, Mom, I think we should change our ways. The mom's totally not practicing, the dad's not practicing, they've got a life that's totally against Islam. So the young, 17-year-old or 18-year-old, at home, just gone to college or just going to university, comes and says, Mom, Dad, I think we should change our ways at home. It's like, what? Who in the world are you to tell us to make a change? You know what I mean? You wouldn't even have been here if it wasn't for us. I cleaned your nappies. I can still smell it. And you want to come and tell me what to do? And you know what? You've been doing this with us for the last 17 years or 18 years or whatever, and you want to come and preach to us today? It's like, how dare you? And so on. Some, turn like that. Others are like, others will have a reaction of, you don't preach in my house. I'm the father of the house, or I'm the mother. This is how we do things. I don't want you to preach. And others say, oh my God, my sons or my daughters become extremists. What do you do? How do you save a son or daughter? It might not be extremists. You might just be telling them, please pray salah, please, pray do your fast or pray salah, anything, something simple as that. And some others go to another extreme by saying, okay, you carry on, son good, son, daughter good, you carry on, inshallah one day, inshallah. So you get the softies, you get the hardies, and all sorts. But the ultimate thing is, how should our way be when we are trying to make such a relationship? It's not a normal relationship. This is a relationship of a young person who now is on a guidance better than people who are older. And what I've seen normally, and I have to say this, is, just 20-something years, 25-something years in London, what I've seen, as an imam, is that these youngsters, they come to Islam, and whatever it might be that they've become practicing. Some others, they've probably changed their madhab, or some others that they've discovered a madhab, or some others say that, I don't want to follow madhab. Whatever it was, they go home and they start preaching to their mums and dads, and it's like the son thinks that, I know it. You're wrong. Your forefathers were wrong. Whoa, you're talking to your father, my little son. You're talking to your father. Yeah, Dalil in this book says this. Chapter number this, ayah number this. Whoa, easy. You know why? Because you might be right in something, but just because you're right in something, if you don't have the right attitude in trying to get your message across, the people you're trying to get the message across will just shun you because you displayed the wrong attitude, especially to people who are close to you. And this has happened, where I've seen families are broken up. And the families have not only broken up, but it's like you can't repair it anymore. The attitude was so strong, coming home, telling the mums and dads, you're wrong, and this is leading to hellfire, and all sorts of things. And what happens then is that there's bitterness that starts. Because when you get on the wrong side with someone and you start being confrontational, you then have like, the father says, well, forget this. If I now change, like imagine, 1 year has gone by and this son has come home every other day and said, Dad, I can't believe it, I don't want to see you in Jahannam. What? But you're going towards Jahannam. Son, what are you trying to say to me? But you're not praying, and I've read this in the Qur'an, and this Shaykh has said this, and that lecture said that, and this hadith says this, and whoa, you're just condemning your dad to hellfire? He said, wake up. What are you doing? Did the prophets do that? This is a big question. Did the prophets come to the people and say, no, Jahannam, or you're on the wrong path, this is going to happen to you? No, hold on. There are only a few instances where the prophets were told to say to their people, yes, they did warn them of Jahannam, yes, they did warn them, but there's a way of warning them. Normally they addressed themselves. They said, if we don't do this, then this will be the consequence. They didn't say, if you don't do it. There's a big difference in the Anbiya's language. The prophetic language, if you look throughout the Qur'an, they say things like, وَمَا لِيَ لَا أَعْبُدُ الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي. Why shouldn't I worship the one? Now this is not an actual prophet, it's a man that came from outside the city, but this is on the language of the prophet. Why shouldn't I worship the one who has created me? Or if you look in the prophetic sense, they will always address themselves, but of course they're addressing the people. So, anyhow, the Prophets ﷺ, they had a different way, and that attitude is very, very important, because, you know, when you're in an argument, it's so easy to blow the fuse. But if you blow the fuse, and if you use the wrong words, or if you get the wrong attitude, wrong emotion, people don't think about the word you're using now. People don't think about haqq or batil. They don't think about truth or falsehood. They now say, you know what? That person was rude to me. I'm not going to listen to him. But imagine a father, after 1 year of being condemned, he thinks, you know what? If I finally start now praying in my house, my son's going to look at me and say, yeah, Dad, yo, Dad, I converted you, you know that? Dad, I converted you. I mean, my son's going to think that he is now the one in charge in my house. And that, inside the father's head, might be so much of a bitter pill to take in, that he might even say, forget it. I'm not listening to any of this. I'm not listening to my son. And what then happens is resentment goes towards things that have been said. So here's Ibrahim a.s. and Allah begins saying, just remember what Ibrahim a.s. inside the book. إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. Truly, he was an absolutely honest prophet. Siddiqan Nabiyya. Now, what Allah should have said here is, he should have said, Nabiyyan Siddiqa. He should have said a prophet that is truly honest. But you know, he said, truly honest prophet. There's two reasons why. One is because Ibrahim a.s. was feeling, you know, from an early age, he was feeling things were wrong. He wasn't a prophet yet. But his guidance of his heart and his mind told him that it's wrong, these things are wrong. So therefore he was being a very honest individual first, and thereafter he became a prophet. Later on Allah made him a prophet, alayhi salatu salam. That's one theory. Second one is that all prophets, they were honest people before they were prophets. All prophets. So if you look at our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before he becomes a prophet at the age of 40, he is known as Al-Amin, the most trustworthy. And that is very crucial. Why? Because, and I'm going to say this, that, you know, right now you've got Muslims out there trying to give da'wah and trying to call others. If prior to your calling of others, you haven't established a character that is admirable by people, a character that people look at and say, you know what, that's a really nice man, you know, that's a nice person, I like that person, I want to be with that person, or at least I can trust that person. If people haven't established that within their hearts, then my da'wah and your da'wah is going to be ineffective. And that's how the prophets were. So in our lives, what we need to look at is, have I established a contact, a base and a ground to give him da'wah, give her da'wah? You can't just turn up to someone and say, hey brother, Assalamu alaikum. You okay brother? Yeah, okay. You know you brother? Yeah. I want you to start coming to the masjid. I want you to start doing this. And you're giving them da'wah, fine, but this person's thinking, oh, I'm going to be polite to you. Fine, yeah, okay, thank you brother. I'm going to be polite to you, but I'm just being polite to you because, you know, I just can't tell you to stop the conversation right now. But you just can't do that with others. The best people you can give da'wah to who are going to listen to you are the people whom you have established a relationship or you've established a ground with. And those people are whom? Those people are the individuals whom you have made a siddiqa or a contract of truthfulness. Every prophet had this, alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's why Allah starts with. So when you want to go, like let's say for example, you want to go and talk to a family member or relative or somebody else, you know, they're going to see you with some honesty. Imagine that 1 minute you're contradicting yourself with something else. How are they going to take you seriously? And there are people who give da'wah and they do this. So they have a trait, so when they're with their friends, they act in a certain way. When they're in a da'wah mission, they act in a certain way. And there's no way that these people can be taken seriously. So Allah starts off with that first. Remember that you've got to be honest in what you're doing. And then Allah says, إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ. when Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said to his father, he said, and he's going to now talk to his father. So it's just him and his father. And that's very important as well. Why? When you are addressing anyone, and wallahi brothers and sisters, I'm telling you this here, the worst of people, tyrants, I don't care who you want to say, you know, the most stubborn people you've dealt with, do not make the mistake of trying to call them all the time in front of other people. Do not make that mistake of trying to get yourself in a position you're always giving them da'wah in front of other people. You know why? Because people have got their own dignity. And part of their self-dignity tells them that, you know what, I can't allow myself to be a person who's going to give in to this other person who's giving me da'wah in front of these other people. Nah, that don't happen. Me big. You have dignity, you're going to lose dignity. There's people who will do that. And sometimes, you know, when you're in an argument, you cannot help the fact that this person is probably rejecting your words because other people are listening. That's why. If you want to change that, my friend, if you want to change that, make sure you hold a private session. And when we covered the part of Nuh alayhi salam that was mentioned in there, and Nuh alayhi salam, he did give them public da'wah, but then he gave them private da'wah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the same thing. He called them whole as a group, but then he went privately to them one by one. You might have an entire brotherly, khandan, relatives, whatever it is. If you go and talk to them on an occasion and talk to them, all of them together, they'll all, because you know they're next to one another, it's like, you know, they're all looking down, like you're talking to them and giving them down, saying, please brothers, you know, be practicing, cover yourselves up, you know, sisters, whatever, you know, you want family members and so on. They're all like, here we go again, right? And they're all looking at each other thinking, what's he thinking of? What's she thinking of? What's he thinking of? No one wants to make the move, you know why? Because if one person makes the move and says, you're right, you know, you're actually right, we should change, the rest of them are going to think, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? Why is he, no? And they'll start accusing things of, this family member practicing one comes and splits the family in half. And there's all sorts of things people are thinking of, you know, what's he going to say? What's she going to say about me if I start becoming practicing now? That's why it's important, apart from the public da'wah, that a person turns to private da'wah. And in a private da'wah, what I'm trying to say to you, brothers and sisters, is that, you know, when you get a stubborn person privately, they've got, that excuse has gone out the window. So now you've got the one-to-one. If they refuse you now, they're refusing you purely because of their own inside. It's not because of the pressure of other people. You will understand that. Yeah? So here, Ibrahim alayhi salam gets his father on a one-to-one, and the first words he uses is, Ya abati. That's how we read in the Qur'an. Now he could have said, Ya abi, O my father. He could have said, Ya walidi. He could have said so many different, you know, Allah could have used any word in the Qur'an to describe how he was going to talk to his father. But Allah says, Ya abati. Now what's the difference between all the other words of saying my father and Ya abati is? It's like, oh my dear beloved father. Oh my dear beloved father. And that's how he addresses himself. Now who is he talking to? He's talking to an idol maker. He's talking to a man who doesn't mind if his son gets killed in a fire, because of the beliefs that they've got and the differences they've got between them. And yet he wants to call him my dear beloved father. Now guys, it's not easy to do this. It's not easy to hold your calm in a situation where someone wants you gone. It's not easy. But the prophets had this way. Why? Because, you know, my friends, you know, the next time you're talking to your wife or you're talking to your husband or whoever you're talking to, if you say, you know, if you say to them, whatever the name is, Mustafa, you come here right now. I want to have a word with you right now. And what you want to do is, you want to, like, you know, your wife's like talking to you as if it's like your mother. Yeah, whoa, you know, what's going on here, man? What's going on here? That just deadly tone of calling you like that? You know, you're going to say, what did you say? What did you say? Huh? And you know that addressing that a person might sort of have, it's broken everything. It's just broken everything, because now they're already on the edge. They're not going to listen to each other. So Ibrahim alayhi he starts off by saying, Ya Abati, oh my dear beloved father. Now, there are many ways you can address the father, but he chose the best way to address his father, because he does not want to give his father an excuse that you did not respect me in the way you addressed me, and you are showing me some kind of attitude that you know more than me, so therefore I'm not going to listen to you. He did not want to give his father this excuse. And then let's carry on. He says to him, Lima ta'bud, dear father, why is it that you worship those things, la yasma, that do not actually listen, wala yubsir, do not see, wala yughni anka shay'a, and cannot benefit you by the least. Now this conversation must have been after he broke the idols. And it's perhaps after they tried to burn him as well, because it shows towards the end that his father just tells him, and he tells his father that he's going to leave his father. But notice what he says. He says to him, why is it, father, that you are continuously worshipping those things, don't listen, don't see, and don't give you any benefit? And then he carries on. And the thing is, his father at this time is not replying. That's a beautiful thing. You know, because he's probably found the right time, right moment, one-to-one, the right tone, the right attitude, the right way of approaching that. And in this conversation, he manages to say to his father about 4 times, oh my beloved father, oh my beloved father, oh my dear beloved father, oh my dear beloved father. Why is this the case? So first he says to him, why is it that this is the case? And then he says, Ya Abati, oh my dear beloved father. Now the next thing he's going to say to him is, he wants to tell him that, Ibrahim wants to tell him that, I've got certain knowledge which you haven't got. Now imagine you saying to a person who's more senior to you, I know more than you. Now, yeah, you know more than me? Okay, you know more than me? Well, get out of here. Get out of here. So he's got to find a way, because it's true, he does know more than father, and he's got this certain knowledge that his father doesn't have. So he says to him, إِنِّي قَدْ جَاءَنِي مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. He doesn't say, I know more than you. He says, إِنِّي قَدْ جَاءَنِي مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. Some knowledge has come to me. Such knowledge I have found, or I have received, مَا لَمْ يَأْتِكَ, which you haven't received, or hasn't come to you, father. But tabi'ani, just please give me some form of you just follow me for in the things that I'm going to say to you, or in the direction I'm going to give to you. أهدك صراط سويا. I'll be able to, father, I'll be able to show you a very straight pathway. Now the way he addressed it wasn't that I know more than you. He said that some knowledge has come to you which hasn't come to you, and therefore I'm going to try and guide you through these words. Ya Abati, oh my dear beloved father, La ta'budu shaytan. Don't worship the devil. Meaning that don't serve the devil and his ways. Now, this is a moment, you can imagine that somebody would have snapped if this was the case, that he just went and accused his father. No, this wasn't just said like that. Please remember, Ibrahim a.s. went all the way and he proved to his nation that the stars were not gods, the moon was not a god, and the sun wasn't God. He's done all that already. Ibrahim a.s. has gone to his people and he's told them several times, and he's challenged them with every possible argument, and they had nothing to say to him. Ibrahim a.s. proved to them that their idols cannot speak, cannot listen, and they were smashed. And Ibrahim a.s., having done all of that, has left no argument for a person to argue with him on these things. So he has proven to them that what you're doing is, the shaitan has told you to make these things, believe in these things, you're doing these things. And I'm asking you, father, please, beloved father, not to do this. Inna shaytana kana lirrahmani asiyya. Now here it shows to some extent that Ibrahim a.s., he has profited. Because he's saying about the Rahman, the most merciful one. Allahu Alam, it shows this, but it may be because he's just using this as a phrase, Allahu Alam, but it just show that he perhaps is a prophet of this time. And he says, Kana lirrahmani asiya. The shaitan is one that has gone against the Rahman, the most merciful one. He showed him disobedience. He didn't say, Father, look at this, subhanAllah again. He didn't say, Dad, you are showing disobedience to God. He didn't say that. He used it as an indirect way of saying to his father. He said, Father, don't follow the ways of the shaitan. And the shaitan is the one that has disobeyed Allah. Right? He didn't say, Dad, don't follow the shaitan because you're going to start disobeying Allah. No. Look how much thought he put inside there to try and not make his dad feel that directly he's telling him, you are now disobeying God. Now these things to a person, they hurt a person and they think, what, you telling me that I'm disobeying God? Who are you to tell me? And people lose it. People's emotions, once their emotions kick in, that's it. The conversation's over. You can't get through to them. And I'm going to give you one thing, brothers and sisters, to take from this, which is, please look for the people you want to give da'wah, find the right time. There are right times for da'wah. If you want to call someone to the deen, find the right time. Even Rasulullah taught of this. And he found certain times that people will certain times people's minds are open and they want to listen because you just got them in a place, in a time, in a moment. These are the times. Like for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's on a conveyance, and behind him he's got Sayyidina Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma behind him on the same conveyance. Now imagine if he's on a camel, if his conveyance is a camel, and right behind him is Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma, then Abdullah bin Abbas is feeling, you know what? I am riding with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm riding with him. You know, when kids, Abdullah bin Abbas was a young man when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, teaching him. Imagine if it's a young person with the biggest person around, how important they feel. And he's high as well, and people are going to see him. Hey, look, man, it's me. Yeah, me. Kids have this in their mind. At that moment, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he takes his opportunity to teach Abdullah bin Abbas a few words. And he teaches him, as they're moving and as they're journeying along on this camel, he says, Ya Ghulam, he says, oh young boy, I want you to remember a few words. Remember a few words. I'm going to teach you. Ihfazillah yahfazka. Try to guard Allah, meaning that try to guard His way or His pathway, whatever. Allah will guard you, Allah will protect you. Try and be there for the protection of Allah's deen. Allah will be there for you. Oh my young, young boy, remember that whatever happens to you in life, if anything happens and it came and, it was something that came upon you and you were struck by it, then remember that it would never have missed you. And if something has missed you, you should know that it never would have befallen you. And these words, where did he choose to say this to him? He chose to say these words to him when he was right behind him on the conveyance. And the ulama have written that Rasulullah found the moment when he had the full attention of this young man towards him. And the same here, that Ibrahim a.s. has got his father in a real good attention span here. Because his father is not saying anything up to this point. So he carries on. And he says, now up to this point, when he says, Ya abati, O my father, my dear, beloved father. Again, the same way he addressed him 4 times. Inni akhafu an yamassak adhabun min ar-Rahman fatakuna lish-shaytani waliya. Now he's dropped the real message. Because his father's not listening. He told his father not to make the idols. He told his father they don't listen or hear and see. He hasn't taken all that. So now he drops it. He says, I really fear that some punishment, again he's been very careful in how he's selecting the words, some punishment from the most merciful one, not some punishment from the God who wants to punish his creation. Where did people get this from? I was talking to a brother the other day, and this person said to me, he said, it's a deep question, and I want you to listen to the argument, because there are youngsters that have been affected by this mentality, because it's a capitalist world out there. It's a very crude and a very cruel world out there. So this brother said to me just last Jummah, it was a very good conversation I had with him, and I'm glad the brother opened his mouth and he said these things to me, because I then get to know how some members of this ummah are probably thinking. And not everyone's going to be brave to say these things. So he first said to me, he said, why did Allah create? And why did Allah create us? If we're going to be in a world full of problems, and we're always being tested. So I said, I agree, Allah created us, that we're in a world we're being tested. He said, why did Allah, who is so sublime, who is so great and so on, who has no need of seeing, to proving whether He is God or not, why did He have to create us and put us in a world of problems that we're being tested every day? Then I explained the whole philosophy that Allah Azza wa Jalla, He had angels for millions and billions of years, whatever time it was. And these angels were conditioned to actually just listen to Him and obey and not do anything different. So an angel, typical angel that's been created for, let's just say, 70 million years, and Allah created that angel to say Subhanallah only, that angel from 70 million years ago till today has been continuously saying Subhanallah without a stop. Without a stop, without having any necessity to eat, drink, anything. An angel that Allah created to make sujood to Allah, that angel from millions of years ago is still in sujood today, just as Allah created the angel millions of years ago. Allah. Now when Allah has done that, when Allah Azza wa Jalla, He did that, what was the thing? What was the thing? Well, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He just created them, they did as He will. So then later on, what Allah wanted to do is created the jinns, and the jinns, they had a good force inside them that has the ability to rebel. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted to create another one which has a combination, has a materialistic side and a side that's connected to the angelic side. So they've got a material side like the animal world, and they've also got, a ruh or a soul inside that connects them like the angels. They've got good qualities, bad qualities. So this is who we are. And I said to the person, I said, look, I said, do you not see that if you were to create a robot, imagine you created a robot, and you made in the robot, you put inside, you programmed it, that it will only listen to you and do everything you want it. So the robot is in your house, and the robot is doing everything you want it to do. That's all it does. That's fine. That's a robot you created, you're happy with it. But you're not excited about that robot because you programmed it to just listen to you. You say, sit down, the robot sits down. You stand up, the robot stands up. You say, drop dead, it drops dead. That's it. But what you do is you create a second robot, a second prototype. And this one, you put inside it some kind of artificial intelligence. You give it the whole thing of trying to know loyalty, try to know disloyalty, and it can choose one over the other. It can actually leave your house, or it can stay there. And that through artificial intelligence, that robot over time decides, though it's upset with you or whatever, it decides to stay with you. I said, which robot would you be more happy with? And with the first one, second. He said, well, second one, because you've given it choice. So I said, that's human being for you. Allah has created within us the thing to disobey or obey God. And when we do things, Allah boasts to the angels and says, look at my servant. This is in clear hadith of Muslim, Sahih Muslim and other hadith. Allah says, look at my servant. He wants to show the angels that, you know what? You lot objected that I'm creating a human being and they're going to do this. Now look at what they do. They've got the ability inside them to disobey me, yet they still obey me. But anyway, this young person, he said to him, well, he said, doesn't it still, did Allah have to do all of this just to prove that we're going to be loyal to Him? I said, look, it's not like that. He said, did Allah have to do all of this and so on? And then it led to a bigger question. The bigger question was, and I know many people out there are perhaps affected by this, which is, Does Allah Azza wa Jal know what is going to happen in the future? The answer is yes. Does Allah Azza wa Jal know by the end of it what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment, where we're going to end up? The answer is yes. Right? So why does Allah still carry on doing this when He knows the outcome? Knowing the outcome doesn't necessarily mean that you fixed the outcome. There's a difference between the two. If you fix the entire outcome from beginning to end, you fixed it. So you imagine if Allah did this, that He created us, He made within us the power, and then we were going to do certain things, and then Allah didn't stop us the way we were, and He knew what we were going to do, and He carried on making us go that direction, and He did all of that until, we wake up on the Day of Judgment, and Allah says, okay, my servant, you are going to go to hellfire. I mean, logically, me and you're going to say, hang on, you made me do all of this, you fixed all of this, you created me like this, you made me go in that direction, and then now you want to just put me in hellfire? This can't be justice. Logically, you're going to say this can't be justice. It's unfair. So I said to him, and this is where, we have to look at it from this point. I said to him, Allah Azza wa Jal has reported back to us the conversations of those people on the Day of Judgment. And He's told us what they're going to say to Allah. And there are many conversations in the Qur'an when they said, Ya Rab, oh my Lord, like Sami'na, we've heard everything, Absarna, we've seen everything, Inna muqinoon, we believe in everything, Irji'na, return us back, Na'amal salihan, we will do the best actions, we will prove things are different. Now I said to him that every single cry on the Day of Judgment is in the same lines, that, you know what, Allah, just give us a second chance. There's nobody that says, Allah, you were unfair. Nobody says that you you did zulm in any way, you committed oppression in any way. And Allah says Himself, La zulm al-yawm, there will be no oppression on the Day of Judgment. And not only on the Day of Judgment, Allah said ever in history of human beings, Allah said, He has said, including all time, He said, never will Allah be oppressive on His servants. So I said, look, there's something wrong here. If I said to you, and I'm going to conclude with this and get back to the story, but this is a really important thing because it's coming off a point. If I said to you, 2 plus 2 equals, what's the answer? Well, guys, only 4 of you are answering that. Come on, guys. 2 plus 2 is what? 4. Thank you. And I'm going to catch you out. It's not a philosophical question. 2 plus 2 is 4. If I said to you, 2 plus, and there's a blank there, equals 4, what's in the blank? 2. It's clear. It has to be 2. But if I said to you this, 2 plus blank equals blank, and you say to me, 4, what am I going to say to you? Come on, what am I going to say to you? 2 plus blank equals blank, and you say the answer is 4. What am I going to say to you, what? How do you know? Because what do you have to know for certain? That the first blank is what? Come on, guys. Oh, it's a bit late in the night, guys. Come on. 2. But if you're sure that it's 2, then you can say equals 4. And if you're not sure, you can't say, this is what's happening. We're saying, if God has created, and if Qadr says, and Taqdeer says, Allah knows everything that's going to happen, and if everything we're doing is according to what Allah wants us to do, and then on the Day of Judgment we end up in hellfire, then that's unfair. Hey guy, listen to me. You haven't taken all the maths into consideration. There are many blanks that you just filled in. If. There are many blanks. If you work the other way around and you say, Allah has said there is no injustice on the Day of Judgment. Never. Not a single human being will say, God, you treated me unfairly. Not a single human being is going to say that. Not a single jinn is going to say that. Not even shaitan will say that. Allahu Akbar. Seriously. Not even Iblis says to Allah that you've been very unfair to me. I'm going to hellfire, but I'm not happy. Not even Iblis is saying that. And Allah reports His statement on the Day of Judgment, that He's even accepting whatever happened has happened with fairness. But anyway, what I want to say to you is, if you work it backwards, then we've got certain parts of the equation that are not here, and we're trying to come to a conclusion. So then this youngster said to me, he goes, that's a big premise to accept, that there's going to be no unfairness whatsoever. And I said, brother, I said, as a believer, we have to accept it. And that's how you work. Now I'm going to come back to this ayah, which is what Ibrahim says, عَذَابٌ مِّنَ الرَّحْمَنِ. He didn't say عَذَابٌ مِّنَ الْمُنْتَقِمِ. He didn't say punishment is going to come to you from the one who loves to avenge. Punishment is going to come to you from the Qahhar, the one who subdues his servant. Punishment is going to come from the Jabbar. No, he didn't say that. He said punishment may come to you. أَيَّمَسَّكَ عَذَابٌ مِّنَ الرَّحْمَنِ, the most merciful one. And this is where it got really fascinating. The conversation between me and that brother got fascinating. Because you know what the Western philosophy does to us? It makes you think if Allah is punishing you, then He can't have mercy on you at the same time. This is a human trait. Now you've got to really understand this, because there's a big lesson coming out of this. You know what happens is that if you're angry with someone, let's say for example, you are seriously angry with your son. You know, he's done something really bad. You spent for the last 3-4 years, you gave him everything in his, you know, you gave him all the things. He's been telling you, daddy, you know, I'm doing all right, I'm revising, I'm doing everything the best. And you see your son, yeah, good, and you give him a car, and you give him a good phone, and he breaks that phone, you give him another phone. You say, son, you sleep free, you eat free, you rest free, you do what you like, but you got to pass that test after 4 years. And the son, yeah, dad, you just can't put that money in my account, yeah. And I'm going to show you, dad, how proud, dad, I'm going to make you. And then when the day his result comes out, it's like, hey, this guy just laid an egg for me. This guy bought me an egg back on Bimbo. Loud, you know, 0. He failed. He not only failed, it was like you look back and you saw he hasn't even been studying. You know how mad the father's going to be with his son? You dupe me, you put wool over my eyes. What do you think this is? And so on. Wait a minute, there could be World War III in the house. Now, what I want to say to you is that when that father is angry with his son, and he wants to show that, son, you really seriously have upset me. At that time, the father is not going to go up to his son and say, son, how dare you do this? Well, I'm just going to give you another phone in your hand, a free one. iPhone 6 just came out, and I'm mad at you, but I'm going to give you another iPhone 6 phone because I love you, but I'm mad at you. I'm crazy at you what you done. But you know what? I'm going to give you a new set of keys for a car that I'm just going to buy today. You may be mad from yesterday. I'm going to buy you a car today. Is that going to happen? Tell me that one. Is that going to happen? You're going to say it loudly. Is that going to happen? Yes or no? No. Right? Son, I'm going to kill you when I get, kill you, not meaning I have to kill you guys, please. Yeah? But it means that, I'm mad at you. But I'm just change your mattress. I'm going to change it today. I want to make sure that you actually sleep there tonight. Not because he wants to sleep there so he can murder you. No. But can you imagine? Now, you're going to say to me, what am I talking about? Well, I'm trying to tell you what Allah Azza wa Jalla does. When Allah shows His wrath on His servant, one thing that Allah has decided to punish him for, there are hundreds and thousands of mercies that are continuously still falling on the servant. This is a big difference between Allah and us getting angry. So for example, this man, Allah decides that He's going to make him fall. Imagine a person sinned last night and Allah said, okay, now, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Right? So he's walking on the road and there's ice or something and he doesn't realize and he slips. I'm not saying, guys, that every time you slip, you sinned the last night, alright? I'm not saying that. But just imagine that it was a reason why Allah wanted to punish him. So he slipped, and he falls down and he hits himself really hard on the head. And he gets up and, man, his back's hurting him, his head's hurting him, he felt smack on his head. Now, you're going to think, whoa, Allah's just punished this man. But you know what? Allah's mercies are falling on this man like anything. Allah, when He dropped him, Allah did not want to hurt his hand. Allah did not want to hurt his spine. Allah did not want to hurt his leg. So He hurt his back a little bit and his head, and Allah's already measured, my servant is going to get better in this many hours. And while he's walking, Allah wrote that day He's going to give him still a good meal. He wrote that for a long time back. And Allah made sure that he's going to get a good rest tonight. And Allah wrote that his friends are still going to be giving the ties and not going to break. Allah wrote that his brain cells are going to be completely fine. They're all going to be working. Allah wrote that his eyes are going to be working. Though he fell down, no, I don't want my servant's eyes to be damaged. I don't want his ears to be damaged. I don't want, him to bite on his tongue or whatever. I don't want him to have a seizure. So many things Allah Azza wa Jal does with His rahmah falling on that servant and me and you when Allah decides to punish us. So I said, you know what? I said, this is the difference between a human way of looking at God and how God describes Himself. So I said, here look, Azabu min ar-Rahman. Ibrahim is saying to his father, punishment may come unto you. But he doesn't say anything. He says, the Rahman, the one who's always going to have mercy on you, may decide that He want to punish you in some way. That's when his father snapped at him. Ibrahim said to him that you may become the guardian of the shaitan, and his father snapped at him. His father said to him, Araghibun anta an alihati ya Ibrahim. Now that's what's really surprising here is that when his father addresses him, his father doesn't say, you just said to me that I'm going to become a guardian of the shaitan. You just said that I'm worshiping, I'm going to disobey God. He didn't say any of that. His father snapped at him on one point. He said, Araghibun anta an alihati ya Ibrahim. Are you an individual who turns away from our gods? Ibrahim, you turn away from them? You have no inclination? You have no inclination whatsoever to our God? Or Ibrahim? لَإِن لَمْ تَنْتَهِ. If you don't stop what you're doing, لَأَرْجُمَنَّكَ وَهْجُرْنِي مَلِيًّا. He said, if you don't stop, I'm going to make sure that I am the one who's going to stone you to death. I'm going to kill you myself. And he was serious. وَهْجُرْنِي مَلِيًّا. Just leave me to myself for a good moment. I don't want to, وَهْجُرْنِي means that I want you to leave from this place. And just go away from here. Because I'm gonna kill you, son. So Ibrahim Hasan, imagine that, now he gave his father no excuse whatsoever to point any fingers at him. He then turns around and he says, Salamun alayk sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. He says, Father, beloved Father, may peace still be with you. May you be safe. He's saying to his dad. His dad says, and his dad's not just saying, I'm going to kill you as in a metaphor. His dad means it. I could just stone you to death. And he says, Father, may you be safe. Now it's not easy for anyone to say. When you had a death threat, to say to the people who give you a death threat, may you be safe. Salam, and he says, Sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. I'm going to seek forgiveness on your behalf. I'm going to seek forgiveness from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Innahu kana bi hafiyya. Allah has been very, very dear to me. Very noble, dear to me. He showed me so much appreciation towards me. So I'm thinking about Atazilukum. Ibrahim Hasan says this. Now here's the moment Ibrahim Hasan knows that he's getting very serious. So he says, Wa'atazilukum. I'm going to separate myself from you, from all of you, from this whole town, from this city, from you, from the people of the city. وَمَا تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. I'm going to separate myself from all the things that you worship other than Allah Azza wa Jalla. وَأَدْعُو رَبِّي. And I will carry on making dua to Allah. عَسَىٰ أَلَّا أَكُونَ بِدُعَاءِ رَبِّي شَقِيًّا. I'm certain that Allah will not desert me in the du'as that I'm going to make for all of you. Now, this is a real big lesson, which is, you've given da'wah to someone, you've done your best. And at the end of it, all they want to do is tell you to get out of here. This is ultimately what's going to happen. First, they will tell you that, you know what, just stop it. First, they'll tell you, is he alright? Is he mad? Is he this? Second, they're going to start they're going to start saying, okay, you know what, if you don't stop, we're going to probably harm you. Third is they'll say to you, just get out of here, otherwise we're going to kill you. Right? It might get to that stage. Now, what do you do as a person who's given da'wah and they want to shun you away? Here you find that the dua towards the person who is not on guidance, that dua is really important for them. Now they say that this is very clear from the Anbiya, but it's not just from the Anbiya or the Prophets. Every great close person to Allah, whenever they've given da'wah and called others, you know what they did? They called them by the day, and by night time they made dua for them the same night. This is very important. You got your son that's not listening to you, you got your daughter that's not listening to you. It could be the other way around. I know here there's a son that's trying to get his father to come on the right path. You might want to get your son on the right path. What's very important is that the dua for the close individual, whoever you give da'wah to, does not move away. You know, even in the heat of the moment, you know, they say, the ulama have said very clearly, you know, like sometimes there might be a mother that's really upset with her child, and, you know, emotionally they're like going crazy. And they say, you know, curse you. Or they say something that is close to saying curse you. Or they say, you rotten this, and, you know, you this and that. Whatever might come out of their mouth, from a father and mother's mouth. So you know what, we've got to be careful. Because if your dua is accepted at that time, when you're emotional, then that may become the outcome of your child. And that's why the prophets taught us, alayhi salatu wasalam, that just make sure that only good things come out of your mouth for the goodness of other people and for their guidance and for their hidayah. Because you don't know when the dua may be accepted. You don't know when the dua may be accepted. And this thing that he wanted to do for his father, Allah stopped him later on. Because his father, you know, when Allah revealed to him that your father is one who's passed away now on shirk, and he hasn't even come closer, he carried on saying, oh Allah, my father, please, my father, you know, do something. And then Allah Azza wa Jal said to Ibrahim alayhi salam, oh Ibrahim, I'm telling you now to stop making dua for your father, because what happened is that his father died by still being a mushrik. Now there's another massive lesson in this, that you might have one of your close ones that actually never come to the deen or never come close, and they're like that, and you're frustrated, how am I going to get them? But you got to remember, please, that hidayah guidance is in Allah's hand. That's ultimately in Allah's hand. Don't try and take in your hands what doesn't belong to you. Hidayah is not in my hand. I have to do my best to taking up the deen. But Allah will guide the people, and I have to make dua. And if Allah decides not to guide them, that's between Allah and His servant. Not that I am going to be questioned or I failed in my mission. No, don't kill yourself with these thoughts. But Allah Azza wa Jal ultimately stopped Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then Ibrahim alayhi salam then turned around to Allah and he said to him, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. And Allah, one thing then, don't disgrace me on the day that everyone's going to be resurrected. Because now a prophet who's the second greatest prophet ever on this earth is going to come up on the day of judgment, and his own father was a kafir, mushrik, one who used to associate partners with God, and his father is going to be thrown into hellfire. How do you think that prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, is going to feel? So he made a dua to Allah, and he said, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. This is in Surah Shu'ara, Surah number 26. Look at sort of ayah number 83 onwards, and so you'll find it. Oh Allah, don't disgrace me. So what did Allah say to him? This is a hadith that we got from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That Allah Azza wa Jal, He's going to, as a gift to Ibrahim for his tolerance of what Allah decided for him, and he accepted whatever it was. Allah is going to make Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam one of the first to be clothed on the day of judgment. One of the first to be clothed is going to be Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. Now imagine you're the first in the whole thing to receive clothing. And that's going to be a great dignity that Allah will give him. And then, with his father, what Allah will do is, Allah will change his father into the appearance of a monkey, and then Allah will throw his father into the fire. So He will save him from that disgrace that people will see him, having his father being thrown in front of himself on the day of judgment. So Allah will save him from that embarrassment on the day of judgment. And of course, it's very hurtful. It's not just embarrassment, it's hurtful that he sees his own father, his own sort of, resembles however he was, that he's being thrown, in hellfire. Now, there's a big lesson that we learn from this, which is we've got to do our best. There's no guarantee that the people who we want to change are going to change. But the least we can do is that we don't turn our way into something which they can point to and say, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to listen to you because your emotions, your behavior, your this and that. And we as human beings, we fall into this trap again and again. And we need to learn that, the Anbiya showed us, such a big argument he had with his father, and such a very profound one. But in the midst of it, he didn't leave his calm. And when he knew that the threat was there, he decided that he's going to leave. It's not that he's going to carry on. He decided to leave. And now from here, he's going to leave, and we're going to unfold the story of what happens on his journey and so on, what will come about with him, and many other tests that are coming about for Ibrahim alayhi salam. Anyway, may Allah Azza wa Jalla accept this gathering that we've had. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give barakah in myself, in yourself, to action upon whatever we've said. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us the best ways of da'wah and to follow the best footsteps of the messengers alayhi salatu wasalam. Jazakumullah khair. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. I'll see you inshallah next week. Salat al-Maghrib again in this masjid.
الذكر علم ونور الحاملات سنا ونور والرسمات هنا سرور يا حلوات الكاسنين